Defect challenge is essentially a lead of a maintenance team getting one of his team, be it if you're a maintenance manager, getting a superintendent, a supervisor, maintainer, getting them out onto a random piece of equipment in your fleet and setting a little time frame of say 15 to 20 minutes and having a competition between each other to find more defects than the other.
Yep. And how did it come about?
It happened at a site I was at, and I just happened to be on a machine one morning. There was a haul truck and it was about to be washed in preparation for service. We just decided to have a closer look at it, and I had in my mind that I wanted to see the things that were about to be maintained that day. So we set the 20-minute time frame and away we went, and we both found a bunch of defects. At the end we compared notes.
Yeah, who were you with?
So I was with the maintenance superintendent,
yeah, okay.
HME superintendent,
yep.
And he was a little bit embarrassed about the condition of the machine and the things he found. He was actually really concerned and somewhat upset at the conditions he found.
Yeah.
What we decided to do, however, was to let the machine go through its service process over the course of the shift.
Yep.
And I periodically dived onto the machine to check what the maintainers were finding as part of their service sheet execution.
Yep.
And to see whether the defects we'd found pre-service were identified during the service inspections, whether the service sheets supported finding them.
Yep.
And if they were found, what happened to them?
Did they get raised in the system?
Yeah, or were they critical enough that they needed to be rectified right there and then?
Yep.
Or were they things that we could do that needed some planning,
yep.
some parts, that sort of stuff, and were listed on the system. So of about 20 defects on that machine
that you guys found,
that we found.
Yep.
There were 3 or 4 that were actually part of the work pack, so they were part of the plan for the day. So they were scheduled in to be done, and they were rectified. About another 4 to 6, I believe, were actually identified and noted on service sheets.
Okay.
The rest through to the keeper. So the machine went back out with sort of
11 or 12 defects that you guys thought were serious enough to get into the system and
exactly
and get them planned. Yeah,
exactly.
And they're only going to end in breakdown for sure.
For sure. So these are some lists of defects that have come out of defect challenges. One of the key things is going back to your CWMS or your maintenance system and checking to see whether those defects are actually in the system already.
Yeah.
If they are, well and good.
Yep.
If they're not, then you probably need to get them in there.
Yeah.
And I've found that that's actually a challenge because the guy who's just taken the list is often very busy.
Yeah.
And then to sit there and have to bang out, between 10 and 40 notifications or defects into their CWMS is challenging, plus scope them properly.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's sometimes challenging to make sure that key step happens because you've identified all these things.
Yeah.
And are you going to just be like everyone else and ignore them?
Yeah, don't get them into the system.
Are you going to get them into the system?
Yeah.
So it's a key little part of it. But what it does do is verify whether anyone's ever found them prior to you doing.
And if there's a work order already in the system or a notification or whatever, you don't need to raise it again.
No.
And that's not the point of a defect challenge.
It's what it does is validate your service inspections.
Yep.
And you might have pre-service inspectors.
Yep.
Like them or loathe them.
That's another story. We can talk about that another time.
But it validates, if they're finding those things.
Yeah.